Good morning and welcome to the Real World Perspectives on Poverty Solutions. I'm Trevor Bechtel, facilitator of this series with Poverty Solutions at the University of Michigan, and instructor of the course that accompanies this lecture series. Throughout this series, we introduce key issues regarding the causes and consequences of poverty, featuring experts in policy and practice from across the nation. And today, we are really excited about a presentation from Courtney Smith and the Detroit Phoenix Center youth leaders, Zaire Simmons and Kayleen Rudd, presented in partnership with the UM School of Social Work, where we are meeting today. The Detroit Phoenix Center is a nonprofit in Detroit that provides critical resources, wraparound support, and a safe, nurturing environment to youth. They partner with young people to break the generational cycle of homelessness and poverty. Today, we're going to watch a mini documentary that we produced and the Detroit Phoenix Center, along with the Detroit Phoenix Center, about Detroit's rapid rehousing program that was designed by youth for youth. Then we will hear from the panelists with their recommendations for how to meaningfully engage youth in the design of social services. There will be time for a Q&A at the end, so save your questions. We want to hear from you, and otherwise we look forward to the conversation. So I'm just going to ask for this documentary to start playing, and magically it's going to happen.
Faced by far too many youth in the United States. Every year, an estimated 1 out of every 10 youth between the ages of 18 and 25 experience homelessness. We know the numbers don't tell the whole story. Even just starting as a young adult, growing up I had to pay things on my own individually along with my mother's bills. I didn't really have those support systems growing up as well, coming from a broken home, and my mother died at my early 20s, so I had to learn a lot at a young age. In the chaos of forced moves and couch surfing, teens and young adults often don't know where to turn for support with basic needs or to find a stable place to live. Before I couldn't really focus on school because I didn't really have a place that I could go to sleep. So when that changed after I got my place, I was able to have more leniency with my time and a lot more leniency with my comfortability, my mental health. I believe that the expectations are very much a hard thing to uphold as a youth, especially when they're trying to grow up and find themselves as a person. You don't really have a lot to vouch for yourself.
Limited income makes it rather difficult for young adults to afford rent along with other household expenses. And also there's a perception with landlords about renting out to youth that makes it's rather risky.
The fact that youth are youth, they're not adults. They don't have the ability to manage and navigate through the housing process as far as having a great credit score, as far as having a real employment, not just employment, but a career where they can sustain their rent and things of that nature.
A lot of youth are at a disadvantage. You know, they have education, they have financial problems, they have mental health problems, and so trying to maintain stable housing, affordable housing, safe housing, these are all just problems that youth are just managing alone with no support system, no resources, no government assistance.
A new rapid rehousing program in Detroit designed by youth for youth is help meeting those needs.
I was really happy and relieved, I would say, to know that the government agencies, the nonprofit organizations, all these federal corporations, they were reaching out to the youth with lived experience and expertise, and they were asking them to come to these conversations and come to these meeting spaces to put their input on these decision makings and the planning.
Youth ages 18 to 24 referred for rapid rehousing are given a place to sleep within 72 hours. Then caseworkers help them secure housing for up to 2 years.
From me being in a shelter, it kind of altered my mind, but having my own place to rest and having knowing it's not going away and I don't have to, it's very, very good for me.
My favorite thing about my place is having my own space. Being homeless is really hard because when you're sleeping in your car with no tent, everyone can see you. When you're in a homeless shelter, You have to abide by their rules. They're watching you on camera. You're with roommates. They see you as well. You don't know what's going on with your things while you're not there. So having my own apartment, I'm 100% comfortable, I'm safe, and I'm secure in that.
I like having my own space. Being able to come home and wind down after a very long shift is very important to me. Another thing is having easy access to the necessities needed for my well-being, and being able to go there is very easy for me now. And then the last thing for me is having security within my own home.
Well, I'm important to myself. My security is important. And then what's really important to me is, like having something to eat every day. That's really important. And taking a bath, like all the essential things of life is just really important. And I really love those things. I really feel like it's a part of my human rights to have it.
Putting housing first allows youth to take advantage of other opportunities to advance their educations and careers.
Having my apartment, the difference is I feel like that I'm providing society. Like now I have a job, I go to work, I get up every day, I make my own schedule, and I flow with life like everyone else. I'm a part of society.
The most essential interactions I've had with the social workers and the service providers were pretty influential, with me staying on top of my goals and what I needed done, including medical goals, medical visits.
Over time, the share of rent that the young adult pays gradually increases while the amount the program covers decreases. This prepares youth to maintain stable housing long term.
My goals is I want to keep my apartment. Like I like the place that I'm in. I want to stay there, and then my goal is to keep working. I work very close to home, so that's very important to me too, because I work at a hospital, so it's like not that far. I can make that into a career. I can keep my home and just keep building on, keep decorating it, making it my own space.
Within months of the Youth Rapid Rehousing program's launch, all 12 of the housing units supported by the program were full. The units are located at different properties across Detroit, so youth get to pick a place to live that feels like home.
And I got to work with Mr. Cooper. He was very helpful during the entire process and made the application process very easy. After that, I was able to pick from homes or places like apartments, but in my case, I got a home.
Mr. Cooper, my caseworker, he would help me with my housing, from moving my things from one place from the city to my actual apartment. He helped me when filling out my leasing to understand what was like the diction, the wording of what was going on. That if I had any discrepancy with the leasing, that he would advocate for me, he would help me, that I can always reach out to him.
Personal life, finances, employment. I mean, whatever they need me, whatever they want to speak to me about anything, I'm always open. I let them be themselves, regardless of where you come from, regardless of your education level, your socioeconomic situation. When we're meeting, we're it's one man to another man or another woman, and I'm being intentional on really showing that I care and that you can trust me.
We have to have those relationships because they won't tell us what's going on. They won't tell us what they need, some of the services that they need, if they don't trust us or believe that we're here to help them. Because the issue is they've been disappointed all their lives.
The Rapid Rehousing program here goes above and beyond. It's really amazing. They develop a personal relationship with that youth. They're going to help them as far as with maybe like furniture. They're going to help them with their relationship with the landlord, and pretty much anything that they'll need to try to make sure that that youth is going to stay housed.
What makes it work is the financial support along with the case management services that allows the youth to have a healthier lifestyle. So we have facilitators who come in and they give tips on budgeting, healthy lifestyle, entrepreneurship, healthy eating, things of that sort, right? And we also provide an incentive for them showing up to the workshops.
What makes the program work is the fact that the youth are driving this. These are youth who has the autonomy not only to choose where they want to live, and all the other amenities that they have there have a hand in the decision making for them.
Youth Rapid Rehousing Program is one piece of Detroit's youth homelessness demonstration program, which is supported by a $5.7 million federal grant. Detroit Phoenix Center's Youth Action Board members helped decide how the grant money would be spent. They reviewed organizations' applications to design new programs and collected community feedback on how the programs took shape.
So we went over planning, we went over data, we went over where we wanted it to be, how we wanted it to look like, do we want case managers, so we were very involved in the process.
The Youth Action Board was definitely a huge impact in my life personally. I've gained a lot as an individual, growth, maturity, and a lot of insight as far as my goals and strengths personally.
The Youth Action Board has given me so much opportunity to grow, to become a leader, to know what leadership is, to make friends, but also to watch my peers, go through their struggles, but grow out of them, grow into better people, overcome their barriers and overcome their challenges and create those solutions for other youth based off those challenges and barriers that they face.
Still, challenges remain. There are points of tension between youth housing needs and housing regulations. And expanding housing programs requires sustainable funding.
The criteria for becoming a part of that rapid rehousing program for youth, it may change. Some youth are going to be disqualified from it for various reasons because of a background or something like that.
Points of tension, I believe, through my experience with this is not allowing youth to assist or empower other youth through housing. I've had young people on my caseload who have, once they've become housed, they've moved in 4 people from another agency and who's experiencing housing insecurity as well into their home, and that's against the policies and procedures of the rapid rehousing program.
One thing I've noticed is that some landlords, they come into this process with a business mindset, not understanding the population that we serve and the things that we do. So if we could get them to be on board with that and create some type of eviction prevention plan. So if they do make a mistake, because they are young and things do happen. So if they do move somebody in, if they do forget a rent payment or something happens, having that relationship with the landlord so that we can address those issues firsthand and they not be so quick to evict them.
So many parents, teachers, they don't know that the youth that they're surrounding themselves around are experiencing homelessness. And I know this because for a while I did not know I was experiencing homelessness. I didn't know the true definition of homelessness. I was one of those people who believed the stereotype that it just meant you had to be sleeping on the street, that it could look like, no food in the house or no hot water in the house or, places that are not suitable for living, basically.
To develop housing programs and other services that are truly responsive to youth experiencing housing instability, we need to meaningfully engage youth in deciding what those programs look like. Advocacy should be taken serious in regards to youth, and it should be noted by those who are in position to be able to help reform the system.
So this does not mean, inviting youth into your spaces and at the table, but then you're not listening to them. They're just kind of there for them to be there. For you to say that you had youth at the event, for you to say that you had youth in the picture. It's the only way it can be youth-centered, is it has to come from the youth and it has to be about the youth.
Together, we can prevent and end youth homelessness.
So I'm inviting the panelists up with me, and I'll give just a brief introduction to the video and some introductions to who we're talking to today, and then we'll get going. So as I mentioned earlier, Poverty Solutions produced this video with the Detroit Phoenix Center, and it was part of a project that aims to include more perspectives from people with lived experience with housing instability and conversations about homelessness response. Fitz, if you could turn me down in the room just a little bit. Getting some bounce. So over about 9 months in 2024, Poverty Solutions staff worked closely with the Detroit Phoenix Center team to select who to interview, develop the script, and film. At the center of the project was Alan Jackson, who we saw in the video. And he was hired as a communications fellow at Poverty Solutions, and he had prior involvement with the Detroit Phoenix Center's Youth Action Board. Alan advised on how to approach the interviews to ensure people felt comfortable, and he conducted the interviews as well as appearing on camera. His relationships with people involved in the video made a big difference in making this a truly collaborative storytelling effort. So I want to introduce our panelists. I'll start next to me. Zaire Simmons is a passionate youth leader and the current president of the Youth Action Board at the Detroit Phoenix Center. She prides herself on being a studious learner, goal-oriented, and a servant leader in her community. With a strong voice and presence, Zaire is an experienced speaker who advocates not only for herself, but also for other young people, ensuring their stories and needs are heard. Looking ahead, she plans to begin college in the fall of 2026 to pursue business and management. With her drive and commitment, Zaire is building a bright future and continues to inspire those around her with her leadership. Kayleen Rudd is a bright light at the Detroit Phoenix Center, where she has been actively involved for nearly a year. She currently serves as the co-secretary of the Youth Action Board, using her role to grow as a leader and support her peers. After experiencing the loss of her home in January and facing a period of homelessness with her mother, Kayleen found strength and community at the Detroit Phoenix Center. Through these challenges, she has continued to overcome with resilience and determination, proving that her future is full of promise. Kayleen is building the foundation to achieve greatness as she strives towards her goals. She continues to shine as a youth leader and is excited to share her journey and perspectives with others. And then Courtney Smith founded the Detroit Phoenix Center in 2017 as a high-impact nonprofit organization that provides housing, essential needs, education, and a comprehensive wraparound services for children and youth who do not have a stable place to live. Notably, the Detroit Phoenix Center partners with youth to lead change in their community, confronting systematic barriers head-on. Courtney's unwavering commitment to service has garnered national recognition with features in Essence, Forbes, Entrepreneur Magazine, and the Steve Harvey Show. She has been honored as the 2021 Most Valuable Professional by Corp Magazine and one of Michigan's top 50 women leaders. Additionally, she is a double-time recipient of the Spirit of Detroit Award and has been named among Michigan Chronicle's 40 Under 40. She is a thought leader on the Forbes Nonprofit Council and holds positions with the Eastern Michigan University Alumni Association, Detroit Continuum of Care, Culture Academy, the Black Executive Director Alliance of Detroit, and the National Network for Youth Policy Advisory Committee. And as of this fall, Courtney is a Master's of Social Work student here at UM. So we're excited to have these panelists here and excited for this conversation. So Ms. Courtney, can you begin by sharing how Detroit Phoenix Center's partnership with Poverty Solution has evolved over time and why you wanted to work together to tell this story of Detroit's Youth Rapid Rehousing Program?
Yes, first of all, I want to thank you all for being here, and I want to thank you and the Poverty Solutions team for having us. So we began to engage with Poverty Solutions back in 2018 when the Skillman Foundation was charged with building a homelessness data education book. And we were one of the organizations that were brought into the project as thought partners and thought leaders. And the relationship that we had with Poverty Solutions grew because what we recognized was that the Poverty Solutions team not only wanted to learn, right, about youth homelessness, not only from their standpoint as research leaders, but they wanted to hear from young people as experts. And they brought them into the fold as equal partners in the project. And from there, they started to join our Youth Action Board meetings, host focus groups, ask for young people's insight on very critical projects, such as the homeless education data book project. And when that project was wrapped up, they brought us into the fold for other projects that they were working on. But what really forged a strong partnership was a few years ago when we were running our Summer Leadership Academy. Poverty Solutions team came in to do some communication workshops with the young people in the Summer Leadership Academy and really create opportunities for digital storytelling to uplift their voices and their insights and their dreams. And that turned into a multimedia project that was just so powerful for the young leaders within the Summer Leadership Academy. From there, we continue to work with Poverty Solutions on many other projects. And so it was just a natural fold for us to work together on the Rapid Rehousing project. And we worked together to create a joint communications fellowship with the Poverty Solutions team. And they were really curious to hear about the needs that the young people had beyond the job, right? So they didn't over-intellectualize the work. They approached it from a very humanistic perspective, very dignified, and recognizing that when supporting young people, even as thought leaders and partners in the work, that there's a wraparound approach, right, that needs to happen, and they were very in tune with that. And so, as you saw in the documentary, Alan, a former member of our Youth Action Board, was actually hired onto the University of Michigan Poverty Solutions team as a fellow to document the entire process of our rapid rehousing program. And his expertise as a young person, as a leader, as someone who was committed to this work beyond, right, an academic title, beyond just being in the academic space, he was viewed as an equal partner in the work, which then expanded, right, for young people on the Youth Action Board to then even feel more comfortable and build more trust with the Poverty Solutions team to open up even more. So it's just been such a formative partnership that has evolved over time from 2018 to all the way until now.
Thank you.
Shout out to Jennifer and Lauren.
Jennifer Erb Downward, our housing director, and Lauren Slogter, our communications director, have been kind of key involved in this kind of over the whole time.
Yes.
They're not able to be here today, but we've been working with them a lot on everything that's been happening here. So I'm going to shift now to Zaire and Kayleen. What do you wish that people knew about youth who are experiencing homelessness? And you just need to get the green light going, and now we're ready.
Okay. Hi, I'm Zaire Simmons, president of the Youth Action Board. What I would like for people to know about youth homelessness is that it might be a word, but it's a very broad experience. I myself have experienced housing insecurity, and like my former president has said on the video, she didn't know that she was going through housing insecurity herself. So these words like housing insecurity, homelessness, no one really knows the term or what it actually deals with or what it entails. Homelessness can be couch surfing or hopping from house to house, sleeping in hotel rooms, or sleeping in an unsafe environment. So I went through housing insecurity myself, and I didn't know. And homelessness does a lot to the youth. It messes with their creativity, their mental health, their safety, their sanity, and these things are interrupted. They're interrupting things for them to progress and grow. And like me, I was around about 18 or 19 when I experienced housing insecurity. So it interrupted me being able to further my life at that time. So it interrupted me going to college. It interrupted basically family events, family feelings. It interrupted my friend life, friendships, and it caused me to go through a great depression. And if I went through it, I know there were many, and I mean many, that experienced the same thing, probably in different aspects, but they experienced it. And that's something that a lot of the, I wouldn't like to say adults, but a lot of adults don't register. They think that a lot of the things that youth go through are very minuscule, or, oh, you'll get over it, you'll get through it. And that's not the case. That's not how it's handled. That's why a lot of things such as suicide come about, violence, and things of that nature, because there wasn't a person or someone to be there to help them. And in my case, I had Detroit Phoenix Center to help me through those type of times. Kaylee?
Yeah, I'm Kayleen Rudd. I'm the Youth Action Board Secretary, and just to bounce off of that, my take would be to not think that it was a choice, like something that they chose to do, or something that was created out of laziness. Most times it's something that happened due to a traumatic experience or them being failed by unjust systems. Like me, I was homeless due to trauma. I woke up one night, my house was on fire. I had to jump through my window. And just like that, the night before I was supposed to go back to college and finish my associate's degree, I was homeless. I had nowhere to go. I had nowhere safe to lay my head, me or my mother. So it was a lot to go through, and it was a lot to understand myself as a young person. So to know that there would be adults out there that thought it would come from a place of laziness or me not having the work ethic to try to better myself really hindered me in a way when I was trying to excel in the space that I was, trying to find a safe space to sleep and how to further my education and stuff like that. It just was hard to find the right support going through all of that. So I just wish they knew it wasn't something that I chose to do.
Well, thank you both so much. That's great. So now I'm going to ask what tips you have for service providers and policymakers on how to meaningfully engage youth in decision making. How do we include youth voices? And I'm interested in any kind of do's and don'ts that you have, but also if you have like concrete examples of projects and programs and decisions that youth formed. What's the process? What's a good process for gathering input from youth? How does it inform the decisions? What are the outcomes when we do this well?
I would like to say tips that I would have. You have to be more open-minded for pretty much anything dealing with the youth. And you have to be inspirational, motivational, basically positive. You have to be positive thinking to help them understand that you might be going through a lot of things right now, but we can push through it. You can push through it. If I'm here, if you're here, and we stand through this together. A lot of youth give up and quit, even if they do get help. They quit because they don't feel like the help is real, or they don't feel as if the help will actually help them in the long run. A lot of youth need help instantly, like right now I need somewhere to stay, or right now I need something to eat. But the type of guidance that's needed in those situations are, okay, you need something to eat right now. Okay, let's find a pantry and let's get you groceries instead of just like, let's get you a burger or a Happy Meal. You know, it's actual change, implementing that actual change and educating them that these steps can further the help that is needed. And the thing I would like to add is, as a caseworker or a social worker, it might come off as, okay, of course you're doing a job, but these things that are happening to the youth are, of course, due to lack of community and support. So instead of treating it or addressing it as a job, actually address it as if it's a mirror. Like, if that were you in this situation, what would you do? Or if you needed help, how could you help yourself in this situation, and implement that onto the person that is in need. And to make it's it's like with the Detroit Phoenix Center, a lot of our youth in our community are experiencing a lot of issues, of course, due to everything that's going on in our economy. And the things that helped us help them is, of course, outreach, you know, going to pass out things that they may need, going to schools, speaking, actually having one-on-one conversations. But what I saw that helped the most was treating them as family and not someone that just needs help. We have a bus that we'll talk to you guys about later, but we built that due to these type of things that's needed. Youth are afraid to speak out or speak up and say, oh, I need this, I need help. So we were like, okay, well, we have a suggestion. We have this thing that will come and show you guys, oh, if you do need help, you don't have to say it. We'll just be here. And you can just like tap on our shoulder or send us an email, give us a call. Hey, I need this. Hey, I need that. Oh, sure, we'll help. No problem. It doesn't have to be a case management situation or paperwork. It's just help, you know? And those are the tips I have.
Thank you.
That's great. I just have a few just to piggyback off of that. Just off of what I've seen and what I've heard from other peers and youth that have social workers and deal with these policymakers, they felt it the most effective and beneficial to them when they're seen as an equal and they're able to be put in leadership positions so that they're not just there watching. They're not just there, you know, hi, being seen and not heard. Giving them something that makes them feel like, okay, this is affecting me. I have an active role in it. Like, I'm a part of it. My example would be just having a fashion show showing how the youth look when they're homeless. I've heard of YBs doing that all over the country. I heard of them having a great turnout when it came to them trying to show their community how their youth look. And it was all youth-led. The designers were youthful. There were people from that community that were youth trying to come up in that area. So just giving them a purpose in that space really gives them a need of a sense of belonging so that they're not just seen as being tokenized, there to look good and bring in money for the people that are hosting that event.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Kayleen and Zaire. It takes a lot to come before strangers in a community that's very different from your own and to serve on a panel. So I just want to thank you all just for your insights, your vulnerability, and your transparency. One of the things that I would say to meaningfully engage young people that we do at Detroit Phoenix Center, just echoing everything that they mentioned, is when we build youth voice and choice into the DNA of our programs. Zaire mentioned our Youth Up mobile unit, and it is a 40-feet RV that is fully equipped with a kitchenette, a shower. It has a gaming area. Thank you, Kevin. As a gaming area and a case management space. And it is really a first touch for us to go out into the community, because oftentimes we expect young people, right, to come to us to jump through so many hoops just to receive service, like Zaire mentioned. But with our Youth Up mobile unit, we go into the communities and we're there and we remove the stigma around needing support. So we're distributing food, hygiene kits. They're getting resources, navigation resources to maybe a local pantry or shelter or a program that's focused on economic and workforce development. It is literally that first point of access. So building that youth voice and choice into the DNA. So we had that in everything we do at the Detroit Phoenix Center. Before the Phoenix Center actually existed, like our physical space, we had a youth action board to inform that space being built. And so that was very important to us early on. A second way to engage young people is, as Kayleen mentioned, right? Invite them into the fold, invite them as partners. Young people are not just recipients of aid, they're agents of change. They want to be involved in the process. We as an organization, we had to move from charity to mutual aid. And that means partnering with young people to drive, right, that change. And then lastly, I would say to engage, to remove the barriers, right? If you want young people engaged as decision-making partners, if you want young people engaged in your programs, you have to remove the barriers such as transportation. Also, when our young people come to our Youth Action Board meetings, they're compensated for their time because we value, right, their insight. If we're looking at them as a partner, we're valuing their labor as well, right? And so those are some of the things that we do to increase youth engagement.
Well, that's great. Thank you so much, each of you, for those answers. And yeah, thank you for being here. It's really exciting to be able to feature these kinds of voices here on our campus. I'm hearing a lot about how important community is, how important agency is, and then a positive mindset. That's something that I really hear, and I know for myself, I wouldn't necessarily think, oh, like that's the thing that's needed, because a lot of my interactions with youth, they're not necessarily presenting as super positive to me, right? And so then to hear, no, I need to kind of keep that going, keep that kind of engagement, be authentic, be real, be connected, but also be really positive. That makes a lot of sense to me. So let's shift to another question about kind of lessons that you've learned in your own work that can guide other organizations in how they approach youth engagement. So, what lessons have you learned that can kind of relate to other spaces? Yeah.
What I've learned is just to piggyback off what I've been saying this whole time, for the adults in those spaces to be able to pass the torch and not just want to give youth a seat just to be there. Just sort of like what we're doing now, being able to hear their ideas and hear their truth unapologetically and give no judgment in these spaces so that they know that they're able to be their true self so that they can help others go through the same problem.
Lessons that I've learned, first lesson, the main lesson is not to judge a book by its cover. I know that is like very cliche, but that is a very meaningful statement in this line of work. When I was going through my housing insecurity, what I was raised to believe is never look like what you're going through. So no one knew what I was going through because I didn't speak about it. I didn't ask for help. And I covered it as much as I could. Like, it was like piling makeup, like layers, because you couldn't see it. You couldn't see what I was going through. And I think it took for someone on the panel to see through all of the mask. And it's always the subtle things, like a moment, a silent moment, or when they walk by you, they don't say hello that day. Just little things you notice from someone's actions that like trigger something in your brain, like, oh, this person needs help. Like, it's not, oh, they have an attitude or they have a problem. Like, no, this person needs help. Like, they need someone. And Miss Courtney was that one. She was there for me. She saw that it was something going on with me, and I let her know, and she was just immediately like, hit the ground running. Oh, I can help you, And that's what I mean by, like, don't judge a book by its cover, because she didn't judge me. She spoke to me like I was a regular person coming to the drop-in center, hey, hello, how are you? But it just took one moment for her to realize, okay, she needs help. So that's what I would say for what I've learned, and my lesson is I stopped judging right off of first impressions or immediate contact. I just take a second, be patient, because the issue will reveal itself. No matter what the cause is, it's going to always reveal itself. So that's what I would say. Just give it some time. Just be patient with whatever it is, and it's going to pop up.
Echoing everything that they mentioned, but for me, it has been unlearning adultism. And this idea that adults, right, know better than young people, and to remove ourselves from the tables in order to create space for young people to lead, we have to take a step back it could easily be me and two of my dynamic team members who are here in the audience sitting on this panel, right? But no, but because we value the leadership and the expertise of our young people, we always create spaces, right, for them to lead. But that means that we have to release our egos. We have to release the title. We have to release our credentials, right, in order to share power, because this is what this about. It's about shifting and sharing partner and partnering with those who are closest to problems to drive solutions, because they are the experts of their lives. And so I would say that that is the biggest lesson that I've learned, is to create space. We have a committee on youth homelessness in Detroit, and I've been a formative voice on that committee for years. But when they were restructuring leadership, I immediately stepped back and said, no, I will not serve as the co-chair of this committee, because I recommend that we get young people in our community to co-chair this committee. And for the first time in the committee's history, there were young people co-chairing the committee on youth homelessness. And that sounds like something like, wow, but that was a very novel thing, because nobody had ever thought that it should happen. Another example of this is when the city of Detroit was going through the bid for the youth homelessness demonstration program. We became one of 33 communities nationwide, right, to receive $5 million from HUD. One of the requirements on the application was to have a working youth action board. The city of Detroit applied for this grant twice. Both times they got denied. But the third time they came to the Phoenix Center and they said, hey, you guys seem to be doing this youth engagement work pretty well. Like, how do you do it? And can we partner with you? Can we bring, the young people that you all serve, the young people that you all partner with to the table as a youth action board to represent for this application? And we built relationship with the city. And then for that third time that they applied, we received that $5.7 million. But that was because that young people were at the table as equal partners. But not just for the grant, because now fast forward and the work is still happening with young people leading. So not just bringing them into the fold for a picture or to check a grant requirement, but really building that relationship, just like we've done with poverty solutions. But it takes some unlearning and some being able to share and to shift power.
Well, that's wonderful. Thank you. Yeah, that kind of being experts of experience, I think that's a term that's relatively new to me, but. Like as you say, and as you share your kind of stories about like learning what homelessness is even for yourself after you've experienced it, right? Like obviously this is something that needs to happen. We need to be able to foreground the voices of the people who know what's actually happening. So again, turning to Kayleen and Zaire, what gaps in programming have you helped to identify and address through being involved in work to end youth homelessness?
Well, I'll start. During my short time, I've been able to help address a whole bunch of things, but the top things I can name off my head is certain harmful stereotypes when it came to youth homelessness, the lack of support around it, and just the lack of awareness. Like, people don't understand what you're saying when you say youth homelessness. They're not understanding all the aspects and what it really entails. For example, I was just at a Great Pointers Youth Conference just a couple days ago in Baltimore, and I was able to talk with a whole bunch of people who were talking about just this, the gaps in the systems that are allowing these youth to just slip through and are leaving them vulnerable to traumatic experiences and to be taken advantage of in a tokenism way. Like, they're just used as a pretty face, and they're not getting any aftercare, any after support. They're not being used to be supported in after that event happens. So yeah.
For me, I would say I would like to say the lack of mental health support is something that we identified for sure within the last 2 years with DPC, because our drop-in center, that was like the main thing that the kids would drop in for, to get a decompression, to be relieved the stress that they're dealing with on their day-to-day, school, work, holding the world on their shoulders, period. They need a safe space to let go. And if you're experiencing homelessness, there is no safe space for you to go to decompress or to, like just calm down and ease your day out. Another thing that we also identified is the lack of employment, training for employment for the youth. The youth go to school and they know that that's what they're taught, like go to school every day, do your attendance, and after school they're back to witnessing their housing insecurity, things that's going on. Oh, well, how can I get out of this situation? Let me get a job. How can I get a job? They have no guidance on how to get a job. And that is something that I saw within our program that skyrocketed. So many kids were like, hey, I want a job this summer. I want to work. And I just thought that was amazing because they didn't have no one to say that to. They couldn't go to school and be like, hey, I want to work. Or, oh, hey, mom, I want to work. They would get shut down automatically because it's like stay in a kid's place. And that's another thing we also identified is that, like knocking down that barrier of staying in a child's place, because there is no such thing, not today at least. So it's like those things that matter the most for the kids to be able to wake up, go to school, and have a good day. Those things help because we were there to implement that change for them, because there are so many programs that say they offer these type of things for them, and we offer help, but they don't really receive that help. So that's about it.
And I just want to add additional context to some of the wonderful things that they're mentioning. So to piggyback off of what Zaire had mentioned about employment opportunities, this summer we, as a result of some of the things that they added voice to, we were able to bring in over 23 youth apprentices that we paid over the summer to gain employment opportunities, to be able to work and to be able to thrive and to be able to learn about how to show up to work on time, right? They worked in various different aspects of the organization, from outreach to the Beyond the Ashes social enterprise, which was created as a direct result of many of our young people saying they wanted to learn how to be entrepreneurs. So we started a social enterprise in partnership with them that we launched during the NFL draft. And they were able to design, actually Zaire's shirt that she designed is the signature shirt for our social enterprise. And they were paid a living wage, not minimum wage, a living wage, to be able to go through this entire process of designing these t-shirts and selling them right to into the community. And also to piggyback on what Kayleen had mentioned about mental health, a lot of times we think about, Bobby mentioned mental health as well, Zaire. Yes. Bobby is the preferred name. Zaire is the professional name. So we're sticking with the professional name today. Zaire mentioned about mental health. A lot of times as adults, we think that when a young person is struggling with mental health, they just want to go see a therapist, right? But what we learned as a result of young people speaking up is being able to implement alternative forms of therapy, such as putting a gaming center on our mobile youth bus. So as a practitioner, I'm thinking we need a counseling center, we need a kitchen, we need all these things to provide these services. And they like, no, we want joy and fun and release. And like, duh, yeah, of course. Right? And so that was like as a direct result of that. And just some of the things that Kayleen had mentioned in terms of removing that stigma, just being able to be in rooms to talk with people who would not typically listen, right, to young people and their voices and view them as experts, and being able to travel to conferences with folks from all around the country, right, and to learn and to add voice to some of the systemic barriers and issues that we see in our community every day. So, thank you.
So I'm hearing that the gaps that we face in this work are not necessarily like identifying a particular thing that we're not covering. Like you mentioned mental health, right? And I know that we're really working at that in a lot of spaces in our society. But it's a kind of consistent thing of these are a new set of young people that we're working with, and so we're going to need to imagine a whole new way of working, because we have a new group of people that we want to kind of work with. And so finding out what the thing that is going to be a positive influence in their life is going to be, that's a constant thing that we need to do. So I think that's a great kind of positive mindset for us to take. Thank you for making that clear for us. So my kind of final question, and then we'll be able to open it up for audience questions. We're in the School of Social Work. We have a number of aspiring and current social workers in the audience. What do you want to let them know about what's most valuable in building rapport between youth and social workers in particular?
First, I would like to say I appreciate each and every one of you in this room, because your work matters the most. I swear, I love it. What I would like to say is, what the most important thing, the most valuable thing, is to not approach, I think I said this already, but I'm standing on it. Do not approach this job as if it's a job. Like, I want you to be able to look at whoever the case may be, or whatever the case may be able to look at that person and see either yourself or a family member, because you're quicker to help a family member, or you're quicker to help yourself. So it's the same for the person you are trying to help or assigned to help. Those type of things are felt in the youth. The youth can feel when someone is helping them and someone is handling them. They can tell the difference. We can tell the difference at every age, from 14 and up, like, we can tell the difference. So I want to be able to let you know from a youth standpoint that if you approach the situation as you genuinely want to be there for them, they will be able to reciprocate it, because it is a lack of trust that is happening within the community. There's pretty much no one that they can trust now. So it's like, that's the main thing. You have to be someone for them to trust. And that's about it.
That was great. I'm just going to piggyback off of that by saying, be reliable and be consistent in whatever you do. So whenever you talk to them or interacting with them, make sure that they understand by the end of that meeting that you're somebody that will come to them for support. You're somebody that they can come to no matter what it is, how big, how small it is to them, and you will treat it as the number one thing that's going on right now, so that they know that they're not just, like she said, something that you're handling, something that, I gotta deal with this later, or I'm gonna get in so much trouble. Like, no, just treat it as you see yourself, like she was saying, you see yourself in them. You see your struggle as something that you can help them with. Like, you were there, so let's help the version of you who was in that situation that needs help now.
Okay. Thank you so much again to you both. I would say to listen and unlearn, right? I'm just going to call a spade a spade. We are at the University of Michigan, #1 school of social work in the country, leaders and best, right? Well, whoop-de-whoop. It means something. But I just set myself up. I should have said that. It's wonderful, right? But when you're coming into communities, right, that have historically been disenfranchised, right, that has been under-resourced, a lot of times the focus is on the deficit, right? But one of the biggest things that you can do as a social worker is to listen, right, and to recognize the strengths that come out of that community, and not to center the traumas that the young people that you're going to be working alongside of with, but to center their brilliance, right, to center their joy, to center the dreams that they hold, right, and then to also listen to yourself, listen to, and recognize the privilege that you hold. I know they're saying, like, you examine this situation as if it was you, but let's just call it out. Some people may not have experienced, right, those levels of trauma, those levels of hardship, but I think naming that and recognizing that too throughout the process is very important, to recognize the privilege and even more so listen to the young person, because you don't have necessarily that insight to lean on. And so that is very important. So if I was to say anything, is to listen and to be willing to unlearn.
That's great.
Yes, thank you.
Well, we're ready to have some questions from the audience. Shi Ying from Poverty Solutions has a microphone to pass around, and I also have another one I think I can grab. Who has a question or a comment about this? We'd be happy to learn your name as you kind of introduce yourself.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Sheila Darden, and I am so glad to be here. I am one of those workers. So when I saw this, and this is one of my staff people, Yoon, we need to be there. And this is so good because we were just in a meeting on Tuesday with our community partners here in Washtenaw County. I work for Safe House Center, domestic violence and sexual assault agency. So when I saw this, I was like, oh my God, we have to be here. And part of it is because our meeting on Tuesday was talking about a youth meeting with our youth action board, with the community partners. How can we get this off the ground? So this was wonderful. Thank you all for coming, for enlightening us, for challenging us to focus on, it's not about us as the workers, it's about the youth. So I appreciate that. But I do want to ask a couple of questions just from the video I saw as well. How do you engage landlords to work with the youth? Because sometimes that's a challenge even with our adult population. And most of ours that come into our shelter are adults, but we do have the 18 to 24, 26 ongoing. But engaging landlords to participate and be a part. And then also, how can churches get involved?
Okay. So I am going to grant you with a wonderful gift. We have the administrator of our Rapid Rehousing program in the audience who was in the video. And I'm going to ask her if she can answer that question for you. Can I do that? Is that okay?
That's great.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Shalonda Spencer. Like she said, I'm the YHDP administrator. So we had an actual landlord mixer last night. An appreciation, but we bring them to the table. We have events like this. We have mixers, appreciations, and we don't just, we talk about the challenges. We actually have those real life conversations. So we have to bring them to the table and continue to build those relationships, if that makes sense. I'm gonna keep the mic. I think you got something else for me.
Like you all said, how are we viewing the youth? Seeing them as problematic, or they may destroy, my unit, or have they ever rented before? Those are all things that, the landlords come with, and trying to change that mentality, by education like you all are doing is so key, but it's still a challenge because of the lack of homelessness. The lack of housing in the area and affordable housing that youth can be able to afford, so.
Building those relationships are super important because they have to know what we do. They have to know the population that we serve. So if you notice in the video, we talked about eviction prevention plans, things like that, because the youth, let's just say they were at a shelter with their friends. When they get their apartment, guess what's the first thing they're gonna do? They're gonna move their friends in. And it's a lease violation. So when we do have those partnerships with the landlord, hey, this is what's going on, we're able to prevent those those evictions and things of that nature. So that partnership and those resources are super important.
And then my other question about the churches getting involved. I don't know if.
We have like, I want to say, and we have an official website. I say we have like about 2 or 3, but we have an official website where you can volunteer. We have a what's Miss Chantel's title? Operations director. She has her contact information on there as well, and we have our beautiful Amber, who is sitting also in front of you, who can give you that information.
And I'm just going to piggyback, or Amber, do you want to go? Yeah. So I'll just, yeah.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
No, you're fine. I think she had a question.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
www.detroitphoenixcenter.org. Yeah, good.
We have some cards too, so Amber's pulling out her cards and she'll pass them around.
That's where we could get the information.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Churches, we've partnered with a lot of the faith-based community to do like hygiene drives, hygiene, like to do a non-perishable food drive, hygiene drive, to volunteer at our events. The faith-based community is a very important part of the work that we do. So there's lots of opportunities to get involved.
And one thing that I'll just piggyback on, and then we'll go to that question at the back. So part of my work beyond facilitating this series is I pastor a congregation here in Ann Arbor. And one of the things that I'm cognizant one of the things that I'm cognizant of is that, and we've talked about this in the panel, is that like there are a lot of rules that HUD makes you follow, or a lot of rules that a grant you might get makes you follow, right? And churches aren't bound by that. Churches can, like they don't have the same kind of resources to kind of put on a multi-million-dollar program, but a church that were to engage this and kind of have a space where youth could live could kind of, that could be a space where if the youth invited a couple of people in, it wouldn't need to be a problem, right? And I don't think that, like some churches are really, really good at this when they kind of engage this. I think that the Lord of Light community here in Ann Arbor has done some of this work, or at least looked to do some of this work. But I do think that that is a space where church is a kind of third institution in society can act a bit differently, and that can be really helpful even in terms of like showing government and policy what a possibility is. So that's just one thing. And go ahead.
I'll just echo off of that. For 2 years, in partnership with the church, we ran an emergency shelter in the basement of their church during the winter time, and it was rotating for young people. And the faith-based community has been amazing. As partners, we park our mobile youth center in the parking lot of a local church, right? And we are heavily resourced from the faith-based community. And so thank you for sharing that. There are so many ways to be involved.
Good. All right, a question in the back.
Hi, my name is Jasmine. As an aspiring social worker, in your experience, like working with the youth, or maybe like your personal experience, the most meaningful relationships that you had, like with a caseworker or another social worker, would you say it's because they had like similar experience to you, or because they just listened to you, or like some sort of combination of both?
It's definitely a combination of both. But for me, I would say, okay, I've dealt with like a lot of caseworkers in my life. So like from when I was younger, my caseworkers, I think it was due to me being a child. My caseworkers were like more sympathetic. They felt, of course, like a lot more bad towards my situation and things of that nature. When I got older as a teen, of course, I was seen as problematic because going through the things I was going through, I was angry, I was aggressive, of course. But I would say it definitely depends on how they view the situation. Because I think due to my situation, a lot of my caseworkers like knew me for a long time. Like, oh, I knew her since she was 3. Oh, I knew her since she was 5. And then I got older and I don't talk to those caseworkers anymore, but the program that I'm in now, they met me as an adult. So they got to know more of a mature me. So I want to say getting to know that person first and listening to them and being there for them is what definitely made the bond stronger.
Aileen, do you have a bit to add?
Yes, just to echo off of that great statement, just to see them as a human being, see them as a human in need, someone who needs your support other than just another case on your load.
All right, we're going to take a next question in the front here.
Hi, my name is Max Prevost, and I'm a student here. And thank you again for coming. My question is regarding fundraising. It seems like you have a lot of programming that probably requires substantial funding, and it seems like a lot of the conversation is about bringing youth participation into a lot of the efforts that you do. So how do you navigate fundraising with having that core element of youth participation without bringing that tokenism part into the conversation, humanizing, them, and donors often want that heartstring pulling conversation to open up their pocketbooks, right? And so how do you navigate that without dehumanizing your youth participation?
Thank you for that question. We say no. I mean, that is like one thing. One thing that we are big on is dignity and not being exploitive and not tokenizing young people and not pulling from their deficits and exploiting their traumas. Like, that's not what we do. And so the moment that a funder comes to us that is expecting for that to happen, we say no. There are so many opportunities for funding that we've turned down because their values don't align with ours. And we listen to the young people that we serve. We invite them to share their stories. They love sharing their stories, but we always say, share what you feel comfortable sharing, and share what you feel comfortable sharing. And it's never like, this is a very important question, right? Because it is something I'm very passionate about. We don't do that at the Detroit Phoenix Center. We just don't. And if that means that there are some opportunities that get passed up, then they were never for us. We had a very strong sponsorship partner who we were very clear at this event, we do not want cameras there. And they brought a whole bunch of cameras. And we emailed them immediately. We spoke to them, asked them to shut all the cameras off, and we said, we do not want your money. Thank you, but no thank you, because this is coming at a cost. We have our annual One Night Without a Bed fundraiser that our young people, they plan, they lead it. And I would just speak to the evolution of that fundraiser. If you know anything about the annual sleep outs that a lot of the nonprofit organizations do, they ask you to spend a night outside and all of that. We don't do that. So what we did was, from the feedback we got from our young people and those on our team who have lived experience, we flipped it. We imagine what it could look like for a young person to have a home, and we invite people to spend 12 hours with us reimagining our world. And what does that look like? That looks like a silent disco party. It looks like education on youth homelessness through Jeopardy. It looks like making blankets. It looks like writing cards. It looks like a youth-led, what did you guys do last year? It was like a slumber party. They had fun, they had joy. They were able to lean into that. And we invited adults in the community to sponsor this experience and to be a part of it as a spectator. because every young person deserves a place to call home. Every young person deserves a space to vision, to dream, and to have hope. And so we didn't approach it from all the deficits, be sad. And it is, there's a deep-rooted sadness in the work that we do. It's inherent, right? But because we are youth-led, we focus on the things that the youth value. So we have to move beyond, again, charity to mutual aid. The way to do that through fundraising is exactly that, moving beyond charity to mutual aid. Is partnering with those that we walk alongside of to host those fundraising activations. That is literally the only fundraiser that we have. It is our annual One Night Without a Bed that is youth-led, youth-focused. Did you guys want to add to that?
No, it's hard to come up behind that.
We'll pick up another question in the back.
Yes. So my name is Tega Dali. I was a transfer this year, and I'm a wrestler here at Michigan. I just had a couple questions about just like I heard y'all talking about like appealing to the youth and like playing video games, doing things that make them happy and stuff. But I was one of these people, like what is the line of poverty, and like what is like the definition of it, and how do you get someone to like understand their situation and not like compare their life to another person, so they understand what they have is a blessing, and the things that other people don't have, it can always be worse and it can always be better. But if you're always like thinking you're in a worse position, how do you like actually change a person's mind in poverty instead of just giving them what they want and like putting a Band-Aid? Because it was until I like changed inside me where I really was like free from poverty. That's my question.
Hello. Hi. Okay, first, thank you for sharing, and I am happy that you came from where you were. How I do it, because I go through this a lot with advocating with children, doing outreach, things of that nature. How I do it is I don't compare their life to mine. I don't compare mine to theirs at all. There is no comparison, because your life is yours, mine is mine. I let them know there is ups, there are downs, but I am here. Like, until I'm gone, I'm just here. So if you need somebody to just yell at, talk to, cry to, tell them about your poverty situations, I don't like that word, or tell them about your housing insecurity situations or insecurity situations, I'm here. And that's what we try to do at DPC the most, is to let them know, even though we have like a little staff, that little staff will take you far. Like, we will talk to you, even if you are that person on the ledge and you think you might have to do something you don't want to do. We are there, and we try to range it from, of course, like from basically like kids all the way up until young adult. So of course the children that go through this, of course they have someone to talk to, someone around their age range, because you know it's about comfortability first. They don't know if they're comfortable talking to an adult or someone their age, so of course that's supplied. And then there's the teens to adults, young adults, that are not comfortable talking to no one at all, in all actual honesty. Like, and that's what we experience the most, that disconnect from, oh, I'm a happy teenager living life, not going through stuff, to I'm going through so much right now, I don't want to talk to anybody, I'm closed off, I want to be away from the world. And we deal with that day to day. So when we deal with that, we don't approach it like, I don't want to deal with this kid, or their issues, here come their more. It's not like that at all. It's not like that at all. It's more of a, you're going through something today, let's go, you need to get on the bus, you want to play a video game, let's talk about it over a match, you know, like, it's like a brother-sister situation, you know, cousin type thing. We don't want them to feel uncomfortable to where you can't let us know you need help, because that's something that is a barrier that we experience too. There are people that need help but won't ask for it, because it's like the stigma of, oh, I don't want to be judged for what I'm going through, I don't want my life to be compared to another person's. they go through that too. So we have to coach them and let them know, I get it. You might not want to talk about it. You might not even want to do anything, but here's some food. Here's some hygiene products if you need it. If you need somebody to talk to, here's the drop-in center. If you don't even want to talk to anybody face-to-face, here's a phone number you can call. It's connected to us, though. Like, you know, we let them know that we're here because that's what is lacking in the community. That support, that person behind you to let you know it's okay and, you know, and push. A lot of people don't have that no more. So I hope that helped. But if you have anything to add, go ahead.
Yeah, so I was like at the point where I was like, want to just like redefine what I was saying is like, there's all like, no matter what, it's impossible to like really like escape that comparison, because like as a young person you see your peers, you see people, and we're on the internet now, we have all these things that's making us feel like we're not good enough. How do you make someone feel good enough? And that's where I'm thinking, it's like you can give person money, you can give people all these things, but if they're not okay with themselves, they're always gonna be feeling like they're in poverty. So I'm saying like connecting it to the church and all these things, that's what saved my life, was something higher than me, understanding that I don't need to have all these things in the world, that I'm rich inside myself, and then I became rich out in real life. So it's like, how do we connect something greater than all these things in the world to make us understand that this is all that matters?
Well, what I would say to that is people who are in those situations because they've lost hope. So when you can bring them a sense of hope for the future, a sense of hope that your answers are within you, you just have to get out of your own way and get out of the trauma fog that you've been forced into by society, then you're able to see, oh, this is not trauma all the time. Sometimes there are glimmers of hope. Sometimes there are people in tribes like the one I have that will support you and be behind you and give you that little glimpse of hope no matter where you are and what you're doing.
One of our values is being journey oriented, and so that means that no matter where a young person is on their life trajectory, that we're there to support them and meet them exactly just where they are. One of the ways that we do that is through changing the language, right? Because a lot of the language that is very deficit focused, is very sad, you know, and it is very it aids right to the stigma that exactly what you're talking about. And so when we talk to young people about the services that we provide, we don't say like, here we are, the organization that serves homeless youth. We don't say that. We don't say like, oh, we're the, you know, in the academic world, yeah, we are poverty alleviation, but that's not the language that we use when we communicate, when we're in community. We normalize, you know, life experiences, and we value that self-actualization piece and provide resources and opportunities for young people to go through that journey, that internal journey that you talk about. There's not much, like as social workers, we know that much of this is partnering with young people, right? And that last piece of that self-actualization, that self-sufficiency, them living out the dreams that they visualize, is from the empowerment, right, of the resources, and then that comes out through the power of them then walking through getting a job, them walking through going to college, joining the wrestling team, getting gainful employment, being up here speaking. That is the hope, right, that we provide through that journey-oriented value. It is very much so something that is embedded in the young person, and our hope is that when we continue to pour and plant seeds, that then it will sprout, right? So that's the best way that I could answer your question, because it's us partnering. We can't make anyone do anything or make anyone feel anything, but what we can do is walk alongside of and plant seeds and watch those seeds be watered and grow, and then they sprout into something.
Great. I know we have, So I know we have a few more questions here, and let's try to capture those. So I think our other Safe House person, yeah.
My name is Yoon Lee. I'm a rapid rehousing advocate at Safe House Center.
And I want to just ask some practical questions. So beyond after 2 years of the temporary housing program, so how do you prepare them to help transition to permanent housing or stable housing, such as with self-sufficiency and economic development, independence, or those who are too much vulnerable to have the independence in economic, maybe transition to permanent supportive housing? Do you have specific strategies?
Yes, so I will also note that the Rapid Rehousing Program that is youth focused and youth led is a pilot program, right? There's not been anything like it before. So we're building the ship and we're flying at the same time, focused on housing first. Young people get a lot of autonomy. As we know in our line of work, that is not the case. You got to go to a case management meeting. You have to do employment workshops to have housing, but those workshops and things are not mandatory, right, for young people in order to be housed. And I do believe in that housing first, in that autonomy. But because of that, when a young person is experiencing a lot of mental health challenges, or they may not be housing ready, it may take a longer time beyond 2 years, right, for them to find that stability. And so one of the things that we've been doing through this pilot program is we've just been really, really patient. Because again, we're building the ship and we're flying out at the same time. Of course, we have connected with the Detroit CLC, the Homeless Action Network of Detroit, and we're all talking and strategizing on how to further support our young people beyond the 2 years, right? And there's some things on paper, but the thing that's very practical right now is just being patient with the young people and providing those workshops, those life skills workshops. They have connections to someone that helps them source gainful employment. But right now, as a result of the pandemic, a lot of these young people are really struggling with their mental health. So beyond housing, the best that we can do is provide some of those mental health resources and just continue to be very patient and to implement the program as it is written on paper. But we're having to be very flexible. And I'm sure our team can echo exactly what I'm saying. So I hope that helps. But one of the thing that we're doing right now is we're being very patient, capturing the data, and then implementing the program as written, right? Connecting with the case manager and connected with the workforce development manager, connecting with our partners to make sure that there is a plan, right, that these young people are able to transition, that the city takes on the project. The CLC hopefully will fund the project beyond those 2 years, connecting them to other organizations that have that permanent supportive housing, or as we continue to decrease in the amount of rent that they pay, that they're financially, economically at a place, right, that they're able to pay their rent. But as we know, that there's some structural barriers to that. There's not enough affordable housing in the city of Detroit for people to actually live. So the housing stock, we're running up against a lot of systemic challenges. So we're just, doing the best that we can within the resources and the support systems that we have in place. Does that answer your question? Okay, wonderful. Shalonda?
So,
yes, saving the money.
so we're coming rapidly to the end of our time. I think we have time for one more question in the back here. Yeah.
Hi, so my name is Angel Corota. I'm an MSW student here at University of Michigan with a pathway in children, youth, and families. And I was a child who experienced housing insecurity without actually knowing and understanding it. But my question was, how can we as students help and volunteer with you guys through events that y'all are hosting for the community?
You can volunteer and you can help and also partially donate on our website, DetroitPhoenixCenter.org. I will get a card from my associate so I can give it to you.
If you want, you also can connect with me. I'm also an MSW student here, and I lead the Detroit Phoenix Center. There's a lot of opportunities for volunteerism since we have our annual One Night Without a Bed that's coming up, and it's definitely youth and young adult focused. So we are looking for folks to come and support that. We have our Youth Up mobile unit that goes around in the city distributing resources. So we're always looking for volunteers to do that. So there's tons of volunteer opportunities, and like Zaire mentioned, you can find those on the website. But since I am here and I am a resource, you can also connect with me, and I can connect you to other members on our team to support. Yes, so thank you.
So I think that's what we have. I know Yanni has a microphone. Okay, why don't we'll put one more question in. Yeah.
Yeah, so my name is Yanni. I'm an MSW student here focused on policy and politics. So I think a lot of the conversation here revolved around like the client, right? The children and the youth. I'm wondering what your advocacy efforts look like, especially at the city, county, state, federal levels even.
Do you guys want to address that?
Okay, so one of our, it's not really our event, but one of the events that we are invited to yearly is the National Network for Youth Conference, where I want to say a lot of boards and a lot of communities around the United States come together in Washington, and we advocate at a very heavy level. And when I say heavy level, I mean like each and every group like gets to this conference and we all spread out in Washington, D.C., going to senates, capitals, speaking to actual, authoritative figures about the policies and things that are transpiring where we're from, whether it's Michigan, whether it's Wisconsin, it doesn't really matter. But that's how we advocate on a large scale that way. And when we're home, like when we're in Detroit, we don't stay in Detroit. We don't just stay directly in Detroit. We go to like Lansing Community College, go to different colleges that are surrounded by authoritative figures and things of that nature, and we go and advocate out there as well, and we speak to authoritative figures about the policies and changing and making change. And one of our most recent ventures, if I'm not mistaken, she actually just came back from Baltimore, but one of my most recent ventures from advocating that hard was going to see the National Network for Youth. I can't remember who it was we spoke with at the Capitol or the Senate. I get those buildings confused, but we spoke with somebody and it was like we were actually in the White House. We had like an oval table. We were just like, business attire. It was actually cool, but it was youth led though. We had the youth lead those meetings, and that's what the best thing about it was. We don't really like try to have our main staff like try to govern everything. They actually push us, the youth, to speak more. So that's what the whole objective was that we were doing for that venture.
And you guys were at Senator Gary Peters' office, and they were advocating for the Homeless Runaway and Foster Youth Act. And as soon as they left the meeting, we got an email from Senator Gary Peters' office, and he said that he co-sponsored the Homeless Youth and Runaway Act. In addition to the Johnson versus Grant Pass, they've done advocacy work there for that, going to Lansing, doing different policies, especially for minors, advocating for minors for health care, right? They've done a lot of advocacy work that have been upstream. And Kayleen?
Just to piggyback off of that, I just left a conference where we were talking about just that, where was a whole bunch of YABs and other organizations that were centered in advocating for youth for various different reasons, whether it be that they had HIV or they were in foster care, just many different reasons that they became housing insecure. And then those boards were able to come and advocate for those youth, and we were all able to come together and basically come up with a strategy on how we're going to do that collectively and move as one, because we can't do it separately.
Well, we're at the end of our time, but thank you all for coming, and let's show our appreciation to Detroit Phoenix Center. We'll see you next week for Bill Lopez.
And we want to thank our amazing moderator.
Thank you.
Your heart is still beating. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. That was so wonderful.
Yes.